If you don't think what you're providing is better than just someone downloading something from a screen to look at it on their iPad that they'll never own, pack it in, I guess. I don't know. Like, I want to shake you by your shoulders and say, you have more value than this.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. Highs to approved, fan and artist and creator too. What? This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. It's hard and it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with
Patrick Brower.
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 Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
W. Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Dal.
Dal. Dal.
W. Dal Bush.
Dal, as you well know, this is a comics industry business podcast.
Still?
Yes, and the key word, I think, being comics.
Not podcast?
And comic books.
Okay.
Without those things, we don't have a podcast.
Yeah. Well,
without a podcast, we still have those things.
Yeah, without your insistence, we wouldn't have a podcast. To be clear. The comic stuff.
Now, over the years that we've been doing this, and when I say years, I mean decades.
At least one full decade, yeah.
That we've been doing this.
Golly.
We've both given presentations, speeches, what have you, at schools, libraries. For me, it was also at a meeting hall on Navy Pier for a librarian group. But anyway.
Several weddings.
Yeah, well, yes, but less comic history based.
Yeah, but you had it in there.
True. I think I haven't been asked yet, but there's an engagement that just happened very close to me that I would be surprised if I was not offered the gig. Anyway, in a lot of those presentations, not all of them, but in a lot of them, I personally would talk about the history of comics.
Yeah, depending on what we're asked to talk about or what the general emphasis is from whoever is inviting us. Sometimes they're very clear, like, can you talk about the history of comics? And it's like, sure, that's easy.
I consider comic books to be one of the three things that America, the United States, has contributed to the world as far as culture goes.
As an art form.
Yeah.
Sure.
The other two being
jazz
and wrestling.
Professional wrestling, yeah, I guess so.
Obviously, there's wrestling. The Greeks wrestled, yeah. Wrestling
different. Not as a competition.
As an art form, as you said.
As theater, yeah.
And in those speeches, when I talk about comics, I usually talk about what is usually considered to be the first American comic book.
More fun comics.
Famous Funnies.
Okay. Which
then led to Funnies on Parade, which arguably was a collection of strips, but it was packaged separately, and like there were earlier iterations that were given away in papers, but this was the first one that was available on a newsstand.
Sold on a newsstand.
Yeah, but I mean, for that, we're only talking about 1933. You know, you can quarrel a year. You can say 1934 because that's when it was sequential,
right?
Or you can say it was like, 1932 from when it was given away in newspapers. But generally, I talk about 1933 as the start of what has been known as the comic book.
Sure.
However, like most historical things, there are different interpretations, different versions in different countries. And in fact, what we just passed, we as a society, as a culture, as a race, even
as a species,
we passed the 200th anniversary of what is considered the first official comic book.
Oh, yeah?
It was called The Looking Glass, but that's not exactly what it was called. It was put out June 11th, 1825.
That is what the calendar would say 200 years ago was.
Right? Now, there's people that can argue that there were earlier iterations of a comic book of Swiss origin or British origin.
Sure.
But can you tell me What country had the first official book, The Looking Glass?
Denmark.
The full title of this publication is The Glasgow Looking Glass.
Ireland.
The Scots.
The Scots would love me saying Ireland.
The Scots had the
That's
first
not where
comic.
Glasgow is?
And not only was it the first comic that, I mean, arguably the first comic,
Sure, that is certainly an argument.
it was also, I mean, because what made it a comic was it was illustrations with word balloons and repeating characters and phrases like to be continued and things like that. But more than that, the subject matter, it was topical graphic journalism.
Okay.
The first comic book was news.
I believe it. I mean, political cartoons certainly predate, like, comic strips, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and like I used to say in the library speeches, you can go back to cave paintings as being the first iterations of comic strips.
Sure.
Because they're telling a story through art.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Glasgow Looking Glass from June of 1825.
The Glasgow Looking Glass sounds like something that happens in a bar fight.
It sounds like a cocktail for sure.
He got the old Glasgow Looking Glass, if you know what I mean.
I'm thinking it's like
right in the face.
the person that they were hitting on was someone they wouldn't have been hitting on earlier in the evening, but after one or two Glasgow Looking Glasses, everything has a whole different appearance.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, happy 200th anniversary to
those who celebrate.
Which is technically us.
Yeah, sure.
Glasgow Looking Glass. It was a book that was not on my radar, and it would, in fact, change the way I view the history of comics.
Today, as we were recording this, was also Marvel declared this 616 Day.
Yeah, we're
June
leading
16th,
into that.
2025 is the first 616 Day, which is also something that comes up in, I think, the Amazing Spider-Man Giant Size that came out last week. I think they had a 616 Day story in it, but they also shipped out to stores a 616 Day packet, which had a big thing that it came in last week. I didn't unpack it, but it was waiting for me. And
yeah, I tucked it aside because it said do not open until.
Yep, it had a big thing on the front that said don't open until 6/16. So it's like, okay, sure. So I didn't. I'm sure millions of other stores, billions even, probably opened it up as soon as they got it and posted it on YouTube and wherever else to go. Here's what was inside.
1,000% that happened, yes.
Molly Jane, who's in today, had already seen it because she had unpacked it elsewhere last Wednesday. So it's like, okay, great.
Then opened it?
Yeah.
How dare.
I know. I saw it Sunday the 15th and went, no, I'll open it tomorrow.
I put it aside when I got it last week.
Yeah, so I cracked it open. And I didn't know what it was going to be. It had appeared as a line item on our invoice for the week, which basically just said promo 616 Day pack. So it's like, okay, like even on the invoice, it's like, is this like promo comics? Is this a catalog? What is this?
So describe it a little better, shape, size.
So basically think of like a normal mailing envelope that you would have like for FedEx or UPS
9
or something.
by 12.
Something like that. And it's decorated. It has a picture of the Fantastic Four on the front that says, don't open until 6/16. You open it up and...
Don't open until July 23rd or whatever day their movie comes out.
Yeah, right. Don't open until you're in the theater and Herbie says you can open it. No, so I opened it and it was not a bunch of stuff for fans like I was expecting it to be. It was something for a store. Inside was...
For store?
Yeah, there are 4 comics too.
Fantastic Four.
There was
it was 616.
I know. A sheet inside that basically said, hey, it's 616 Day. This is a celebration of Marvel and superheroes and et cetera. It's basically just them trying to do their Batman Day, their Superman Day, their branded day.
We're not
for that.
going to celebrate a character. We're going to celebrate an entire universe.
Yeah, and honestly, I think 616 Day is clever. I mean, I think of all of the like ways you could do a kind of branded Marvel Day akin to May the 4th or whatever. I think 616 Day is pretty clever. Marvel obviously didn't do anything about it. Like, this wasn't a publicized event. This wasn't a whole bunch of giveaway comics or whatever. This was like, oh, here's a thing. And I guess I got a Disney Plus email that said, hey, we've got a bunch of Marvel stuff. So maybe they're trying to do a wider transmedia. We've got all this Marvel stuff. Check it out on all these platforms. But what was inside the envelope they sent us was, we don't usually do unboxings, but we got this envelope from Marvel. It says, do not open until June 16th. which is, today. So let's see if we can open this. I honestly got no idea what's in here. It was on the invoice as 616-day promo. I think even here it's like 616-day 2025 package envelope. I'm also not on social media, so I have no idea. I'm sure plenty of people have already spoiled what this is, but let's find out. Doing this all one-handed. All right, let's see what we got. Earth's Mightiest Day. Bunch of different 616 variants. Pin set. Here's the pin set. FF pins. And then a specific bundle of 616-day variants. All right, that's what we got. A letter, one-sided, explaining kind of what 616-day was. A set of 5 pins, the 4 Fantastic Four characters, and I think a 616 pin. And then 4 promo comics with exclusive 616-day covers. It was a Fantastic Four, an Amazing Spider-Man, and Avengers, and Fantastic Four. Did I say Fantastic?
You did.
X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Avengers. The problem we had...
quick question. Are these newer issues, older issues, books that
it's
have
like ASM 2, Avengers 25. So it's recent stuff, but not brand new this week stuff. Okay. So it is fairly recent. It's all stuff from this year. So the problem is that inside this envelope were 4 comic books set between 3 pieces of cardboard, one on the outside of each side, and then one in the middle between books 2 and 3. The sheet of paper that had the information about the day on it, and then bubble wrapped the 5 pins that are pinned to a piece of cardboard. The problem is that the way they were packed for us were basically with the pin backs of the pins facing down onto the comics.
Not onto a piece of cardboard?
Well, onto a piece of cardboard that then the comics were over. If you were normally packing this sort of thing, I would think you would want to have them with
the flat side down.
The pin faces facing down to the books and the backers facing up out into the envelope. They did it the other way around, which means that when this thing gets mailed, how is it? Did you unpack it?
It was just in one of the PRH boxes.
Okay. So basically, when this thing is in something else and moves around during transit and pushes against other things, what that means is if any pressure gets applied to either face of the envelope, it's pushing the pin backs, which are not flat, they're rounded and kind of sharp at certain points.
Some might say pointy.
Directly onto the comics. So 2 of the 4 comics for us were basically trashed. One of them had a pin and poking directly through the book. So there was a visible hole going through the cover, which means no one's going to want it. And then the book beneath that had a big dent and a little bit of a divot because of the pressure of the one above it.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically... And
to go all the way through a comic.
Yeah. But then below it, there was a piece of cardboard and then 2 more comics. So by that point, nothing was really affecting the books. So the bottom 2 that were distant from the pins were fine. The 2 top ones that were closest to the pins were unsellable. But since this is promo stuff, it's like, I can't really do anything about it. I could probably email PRH and go, hey, the free thing you gave me, I can't sell now. But it's like, I don't know, man, you roll the dice. I didn't ask for this. I didn't pay for it.
Sure.
Fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other 2 books will probably put up on eBay. I don't know if these are going to go for anything. It's really weird how this stuff works. I've gotten exclusive comics from my Marvel Unlimited subscription. And we'll put those up online, and they generally don't go for anything. No one really cares. And it's weird because you think like, well, these are pretty limited, but like limited in the sense of like there's several thousand of them. So it's not limited enough for anyone to care about. It's always like when we would list 1 in 25 variants and 1 per store variants for like Boom Comics.
Yeah.
You would think the 1 per store would be more valuable because you could order 1,000 copies and still only get 1, as opposed to getting, 40 of the 1 in 25 variants if you ordered the similar amount of copies. I'm doing my math right in my head. But it's the other way around. Every single store gets a 1 per store, even if you order 0 copies of the book, or like maybe 1 or 2 copies. But you have to order a minimum of 25 to get even 1 of the incentive variant. So like we stopped even listing 1 per store variants for book stuff when they were doing it because it's like nobody cares. This thing basically goes for cover price. So I'll list them tomorrow and we'll see how they go.
Yeah, you would think that there would be a handful of people at each store that would want it, and only obviously one could have it,
Right.
whichever book it is.
Right.
But that just doesn't necessarily translate, especially when it's not a thing you know of. Like I didn't look into this further because I didn't care, but there's an exclusive Marvel comic you can only get at Disney parks.
Sure.
But I mean, that kind of stuff happens all the time, all over the industry.
Yeah, one of the hot books right now is there's a book you can only get with Milk-Bone biscuits, the dog biscuits, for Superman.
Oh, not for Fantastic Four?
No.
Because
So,
the Human Torch is such a dog.
so the Superman comic is going for like 30 or 40 bucks because like not everyone has a dog and not everyone gets dog biscuits and not everyone gets Milk-Bone dog biscuits. And sometimes, I guess maybe when the books arrive, they're not in great shape, et cetera, et cetera.
It's not like
Yeah.
tucked in a box of dog biscuits like a cereal
I
prize.
don't know. Maybe. I don't think the boxes are big enough for a comic book. The other problem with these 616-day variants, they're not great. They're okay, but like I think in general, incentive variants are having a real tough time with value because there's so goddamn many of them.
I cannot tell you how often when I'm breaking down an invoice and all I see are creator names,
Mhm.
on a list until I look it up. I don't know for Marvel books.
Sure.
Obviously, everybody else cares enough to say what the ratio is.
Yep.
Marvel does not give a shit.
No.
But when I see a list of, let's say, 8 covers, I could look at it and go, oh, the Greg Land one is going to be the 1 in 25.
It's like 4 different Greg Land 1 in 25 variants
Just this week alone. Yeah.
It's weird. And
you could say it's always for Marvel. Like oftentimes it's the old school artist.
Yeah.
The
Which
longer.
which is honestly the if I was cautioning publishers about where they should put their covers to do incentive ones that actually sell well, I would say not the old school artists.
I would do the same.
The ones that tend to do the best are ones where I'm like, this is like some painter I've never heard of, or like someone who does magic cards, and it's like, oh, people love their stuff.
Yeah,
and
honestly,
and this is crucial. There's not a lot of it. A Greg Land cover doesn't mean anything because Greg Land has been working in the industry for decades and does probably 20 covers a month. So a Greg Land like Fantastic Four cover, no one cares.
I honestly think that in this instance, variant covers are moved by the art, not by the artist, not by the name, but by the image.
Yeah,
it's not entirely true. There's been like really great like George Fornes covers that I think were amazing.
Yeah,
no one really cared about, but ultimately, the better the cover art and design, the more interest there'll be for it.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of people collecting like every Greg Land cover or every Peach Momoko cover anymore. Like, again, mostly because the market's been so saturated. You can't anymore. Like, God help you. A few years ago, if you were like, I'm going to get every Art Adams cover, and it's like, well, shit, it's Art Adams month. Like, go nuts. I love Art Adams, but I can't do that. I love Chris Giarrusso variants, but they did several months of like 15 Chris Giarrusso variants, and it's like,
and good for him.
Yeah, great for him, but boy, you can burn people out, and Marvel is the best at that. They're the house of ideas, and their idea is more of what we just did.
Before we get too far away from 616 Day,
okay,
two other points in regards to it. Number one, do you know why? And this isn't in my notes. This is just since we're talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where that number comes from?
It was like, wasn't it an Alan Moore thing? Captain Britain?
It predates Alan Moore.
Okay.
It was the guy who was writing Captain Britain for the UK, for Marvel UK, who was
Steve Moore.
He was doing things. I don't remember his name, honestly. Like a lot of his concepts, Alan Moore picked up on and went with.
Sure.
But he had created the idea of this universe as a way to mock these Earths.
Okay.
Earth's 1, Earth 2,
Sure.
blah, blah, blah. And what they really wanted to do was Earth 666.
Sure.
But couldn't. And the two factors for getting it to 616 is one is just, well, let's just subtract a round number from 666.
Right.
Let's say take 50. But also there is and I don't know how much this plays into it and if this is even the case anymore, because, we're talking the 80s here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I cannot tell you the city, but wherever, like the coldest city in the world that has a school, the school closes when the temperature hits minus 6.16 Celsius.
Okay, weird.
Yeah. So it's 50 away from 666 and that weird temperature thing.
Okay.
And then it got picked up and used regularly, and apparently after a while, Joe Quesada and Axel Alonso maybe Tom Brevoort hated it and never wanted it used. So that's why they did like the final, like Joe Quesada never liked it, and Tom Brevoort wanted to get rid of it, and so like the first Spider-Verse miniseries that was supposed to be the big hurrah of the final hurrah of the 616.
Yeah.
But then the MCU picked up on it, and now it's a
Too
thing
late.
that lasts forever.
Yeah.
But
once it's in a movie, that was the smartest thing Bill Jemas ever did, and maybe the only smart thing he did besides creating the Ultimate line, was having them do the Wolverine origin comic, specifically because if they didn't do it,
the movie
was going to, and they would be stuck with that origin forever. So this was the
Wolverine
one chance.
origin was horrible, so that's
I mean, it's not a good comic, but at least the.
I mean the X-Men Origins Wolverine.
No, also the comic. That kid digs like a Wolverine, but at least the comics got to do it. Like they got to say, like, here's what the original Wolverine is.
Yeah, for sure. But also for the Marvel 616 Day promotions, there was a big ad that looked like either a weird gravestone or a black splooge that said, "He's back."
Who's back?
You had to wait until 5:25. Was it today? PM today? No, I'm sorry, 6:16, but we 5:16 our time. It's terrible. The He Who's Back.
Who's back?
Well, I'll tell you, it takes place this fall in Venom number 250.
Okay.
It looks like they're
only up to 250?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Looks like all new Venom becomes Venom again.
Fine.
No. Null's back.
Fine.
With a Ryan Stegman cover.
I didn't care when Null was around the first time, and I'm not going to care now.
No, that's just it. I didn't care either, but now I read Venom.
Oh, sorry. Is Mary Jane going to become the new Null?
I mean, it's still that
Paul?
Venom. Paul. It's still that Venom.
Sure. But she's just fighting Null?
Yeah.
All right, whatever.
I feel tricked that I waited a day to find out what that was, and it was just Null. And honestly, that was one the rumors were it was Null, it was Eddie Brock as Venom, it was Cletus Cassidy as Carnage, it was Donny Cates at Marvel.
Maybe.
It was one of those things only. So yes, happy 616 Day to you, and to no one. What's that?
Happy 616 Day to you as well.
Thank you.
Welcome.
It's also my nephew Matthew's birthday.
Oh, nice.
He's 25 today.
Wow. Congrats.
My favorite comic book reference for Matthew is when he was younger, he got an amulet.
Mm-hmm.
Really got an amulet.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was, excitedly reading them as they came out. When volume 9 finally came out, Matthew, an adult who is now a geometry teacher in high school, I messaged him and said, "Hey, Matthew, I don't know if you care anymore, but volume 9...
As you're an adult.
of volume 9 of Amulet came out, the series you started 15 years ago, or whatever it was."
Right.
And he said, "I totally want it. I reread those books every year."
Great. The Flight's coming back into print. Speaking of Kevin Kibuyoshi, their PRH is doing it. They're reprinting the whole series 2 at a time. So we FOC'd 1 and 2 today, and it'll be 3.
There are only 3.
There's like 8. Flight? There's like 8.
Oh.
You're thinking of maybe Explorer?
Yeah, I think I'm thinking of Explorer. There were 3 of those.
Yeah, Flight was the one that was not just all ages. Explorer was the all ages Flight, basically. But yeah, so we'll get 1 and 2 back in. There's probably a whole new generation of people that'll get into it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And it's fun that Marvel's reprinting Fantastic Four's Franklin Richards' Boy Genius.
Yeah, which, for the record, we still have on our spinner rack, so you can just come in and buy one today.
Nice. But that's a book we tried to get, like that and I think Supergirl Cosmic Adventures of the 8th Grade. Those are perennials for us when they're in print.
But like, I think the Franklin Richards one will probably sell better this summer because it's got a Herbie in it.
Yeah, it's got the Herbie logo on the cover.
Yeah.
Featuring Herbie. And Herbie's, I mean, they're not changing the cover. Herbie was always, it's Calvin and Hobbes, but with Herbie being Hobbes.
Right.
But, I mean, it's obviously a disservice to call it that, but that's a good way.
No, but that's a shorthand.
Yeah.
I think that was the intention. You can tell the way the story's told.
I'm looking at my page of notes for this very episode, and they're scattered all over the place.
Okay.
Let's talk about a book that came out this past week.
Mm-hmm.
This is so out of order. I am personally recording these, and we're recording this much earlier, and I'm also recording episodes out of order.
Mm.
So while this episode...
All the precious continuity that people usually depend on.
I know.
It's going to be garbled.
This is the June 22nd, 23rd episode, but the 29th and 30th episode is already edited in the queue. So, and also, you and I are recording this like 4 or 5 days earlier than we normally do.
We're recording on a Monday night instead of a Thursday or a Friday as usual because the weekend just doesn't we could record it, but Patrick would have no time to edit it, and that's a huge problem.
A book is coming out this week that is causing a tremendous amount of controversy in the comic book retail community.
Or has come out this week.
Yeah, exactly. Has come out already. Any guesses?
The Adventure Comics 240 reprint.
Correct.
I read that story on The Beat, and before I get into that, I saw that headline that there was controversy, and I'm like, well, I'm going to read that. And I was completely wrong on what I expected the controversy to be. The thing that was controversial to me is that for Adventure Comics 240, which is the first appearance of Crypto, and they're doing a facsimile edition, DC announced before FOC that they would be doing a promotion alongside the Superman film where they would be putting inside the copies of the facsimile edition 2 golden tickets, Crypto's Golden Biscuit sweepstakes, where if you find one of the golden tickets, you are invited to the world premiere of Superman, the new James Gunn film from DC Studios. Here's the problem. So they bagged it so that you don't, you obviously can't see if you have a winning ticket or not, and to keep the ticket from falling out of the book. The problem is they didn't put anything on the bag that says that there is a sweepstakes entry inside.
There's no signage. There's no notification.
We have to make a sign for it, or else no one's going to know why it's bagged, or, and this is the important part, why they should buy a copy to win a chance at going to see the world premiere of Superman.
I'm sorry. You mean we have to throw all those copies in the trash?
Yeah, so there was a different controversy. Patrick, do you want to go into what it was?
Certainly, I will. As you have stated, there are 2 winning tickets, 2 issues of the book. A DC employee personally went to the printer and inserted the tickets in the books himself. However, if you do not get a winning ticket, which is 99.99999%,
statistically far more probable,
there is a little, and we were alerted to this ahead of time, there's a notice that says, sorry, you did not win a golden biscuit.
But there's a consolation prize. Because they don't just want to say, like, you get nothing.
They never told us being the retailer, there was a consolation prize.
Right. But we found out there is, and it makes sense because the last thing you want to do is like, hey, you didn't win anything. Thanks for buying this comic book. Like, you got to give something.
So the consolation prize is 1 free month of DC's online comic book reading platform. I don't know.
Specifically,
DC Go, what is it called?
It's DC Comics Infinite, but it's specifically their Ultra tier, which is basically their version of Marvel Comics Unlimited, where it's a huge portion of their library.
It's all of their available online comics and the books that they release, you get them a month after they're on sale.
Right, as opposed to like 3 months out, which is what it is for Marvel Unlimited. And I think DC has a lower tier that's not Ultra, that is more curated selection of books, and I think a little bit more of a lag between when they're released and when they're put online. I think.
So basically, this book that you had to go to a comic book store to get is advocating people read their comics digitally.
I mean, I think advocating is maybe overstating it, but I'm sure people view it that way. Yeah, it turns out that there's a huge hue and cry from the retail community that they are being asked to sell to their consumers a portal into this illicit digital realm of hidden desires and treats and whatever else they think it is. It's the stupidest bullshit. This has been going on for, Jesus Christ, as long as there have been digital comics. And I find the argument about it unbelievably tiresome and reactionary, and also largely proven to be incorrect at this point. Do you remember when stores were throwing out their friggin' Avenging Spider-Man #1s? Because, Patrick, it has a digital code. You're asking me to sell a digital code that's going to get people going to the Marvel website and downloading their comics? Guess what? None of that mattered. It didn't destroy the industry. It didn't plummet sales.
So personally, I do feel that it is different, and I wasn't thrilled with you get a month free. So anybody that tries it gets access to DC's entire library. Mm-hmm. That digital code was you got a digital copy of that book. You didn't have to, you're not joining a service. You're not getting everything else. You got a digital copy of the book you already paid for.
Sure.
The reason I'm not as concerned about this particular situation is one of the rules is you have to sign up with a credit card because you were signing up for the automatic renewal after the first month. So that means you have to go in and cancel.
Right. It's not just going to run out.
Obligation
It is.
you have to do, and you have to put in a credit card. Even though the first month is free, that kind of stuff always turns me off.
Sure.
Like, I'm not giving you my credit card because I know there's a good chance I forget to do this.
Yep. And then a month later, you're like, oh, I got charged. Shit. Now I got to cancel it, and I'm out that money.
And it's the highest tier.
Yeah.
So it's the most expensive tier.
Yeah. The thing about this that'll never bother me is, like, this stuff existed already. If people wanted to do it, and look, I mean, you can make the argument that advertising it is different than it existing. Like, people could find out about this, and DC could advertise it in their books or whatever. But specifically getting a thing that's enticing people to try it out is perhaps a little different than just being interested as a fan and going and signing up for it. The thing is, the use case for it doesn't fundamentally alter based on whether or not you're given a free month or whatever. It's either a good fit for you to begin with or it's not. And getting a free month, if you like print comics, which if you go to a comic shop, you probably do.
True.
The idea of
you definitely didn't get this to that service from a digital code you got in a. I mean, you got that book because you had to go buy it.
Right. If you like print comics and someone's like, hey, you can try this free digital service, I'm assuming that at some point you're already making a decision because you're an adult in the year 2025 and you know these things are available digitally as well, to not do that because you want the print comics or you want them a certain way or you want to own them and not just have a license to them that you have to renew endlessly forever. Like, it is not apples to apples. These are two completely different services. So the idea that if any of my customers find out, they're all going to flock to this new platform is ridiculous. Like, it's such a dumb argument.
But don't you think DC should have told the stores?
I guess. I mean, like, I don't care, and I think all of this is overblown, but it probably would have saved them a little bit of heartache and friction if they had said ahead of time, like, hey, here are the two things you're going to get. You're either going to win a chance to go to this premiere, or you're going to get a free month of this thing. It wouldn't have changed the calculus for me at all, but clearly it would have affected a lot of stores. I'm not going to say it wouldn't. The proof is out there. The proof is all over the internet. I think the things that people are afraid of, stores are afraid of, are dumb for two reasons. First, as stated, this is not a replacement for comic books. It's a different thing. It's like the idea of streaming versus going to the movies. Like, yeah, there's some people who streaming's going to fit a lot better, but there's other people who are like, no, I like going to the movies. So the idea of, I can't, at the movie theater, you can't say, this is presented to you by Apple because, oh my God, what if people realize they could just go watch F1 on their phones? Well, Jesus Christ, I don't want to. I want to see it on a big screen.
Can I?
And the phone will shake if you watch the trailer.
Can I do that right now?
On the Apple TV app.
Is it out? Can I go watch it?
But the other thing
I don't want to watch F1.
that I've never liked about it, I'm going to watch F1.
Sorry, Greg James.
The other thing about it that I find dumb is that it basically says that the value of your comic shop is negligible. That the service you provide as an owner, as a manager, as an employee, as a storefront, does not weigh in your favor at all. That you are just a place where people get comics, and it's like, holy shit. One, I hope you're not, and two, you cannot think of your store that way. That's ridiculous. Like, if you don't think what you're providing is better than just someone, like, downloading something from a screen to look at it on their iPad that they'll never own, pack it in, I guess. I don't know. Like, I want to shake you by your shoulders and say, you have more value than this. You are not at risk of losing your business to a 1-month download code to a DC Comics app.
And let's not forget that technically DC is giving this book to everyone, to the retailers, for 37.5 cents per copy.
Correct. They overshipped it and they provided it at a lower net cost. to get copies into stores. And they did all that. And again, they didn't put a single like blurb on the bag that said, win a chance to go see Superman with James Gunn or whatever.
Honestly, you know what? It's probably not cost effective to do that because they're already paying extra for the bagging. To print on the bag is so much more expensive than just the bagging.
But it's so weird.
I agree.
I get that you don't put it on the book. It's a facsimile, fine. But I would rather have them have not done any of the like super deep discounting overship stuff and spend a little bit of that money on putting a one color blurb on the bag that says, win a chance to go see the premiere of Superman in theaters.
Yeah.
July 12th or whatever. That seems like a thing that would have been smart. Or, and if you can't even do that, how about a shelf talker for stores that says, win a chance to go see, like, you have this sweepstakes and you haven't publicized
Even
it.
a downloadable shelf talker would have been an option.
Something, like, again, tomorrow, Tuesday, June 17th, before the book goes on sale, I'm going to have to print up a sign to put on the shelf so that people looking at the book can go, oh, I want to buy this. I want to win a chance to go see Superman.
But also, that's going to get in the way of your obviously needed new printing sign.
It'll probably have 2 stacks. We got a lot of copies.
That's true.
We have a lot of copies.
Also,
There were not a lot of pre-orders for it.
no, because why would there be?
I mean, it's a replica edition, a facsimile of the first Crypto.
Sure, but so that's like, that would mean 3 pre-orders normally.
For a DC Silver Age book, it probably would.
Yeah. And think about all the unopened ones that'll exist, because no store is going to sell out. Oh man, what if we just open all of ours and sell it for the book price because it's just the book?
I'm going to have to look and see, like, what is the deadline to, like, to submit a winning sweepstakes one?
I mean, the movie's coming out in a couple of weeks.
And basically, like, the day before that, any remaining copies, like, at close of business, I'm just going to open.
Sure.
Because the next day, they're just a comic book at that point.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll get a chance to go.
I won't.
I say we.
I will not be going.
Maybe I'll get a chance to go. And
Maybe you would.
Then at the premiere, I'll say, Mr. Gunn, I'm a big fan of your movies. I'm looking for the Superman one. Why didn't they put a blurb on the bag that says you could win a chance to go see Superman?
I don't know how to tell you this. We don't have anyone to cover for you for that trip.
Oh, we'll just be closed that day. It's fine.
Okay.
It's probably not a Wednesday.
Probably a Wednesday.
Oh, I wonder.
Movie premieres are never like a weekend
Yeah,
when you're off.
But, there's 6 Saturdays in the week besides Wednesdays.
All right, Dal, I want you to metaphorically roll a 3-sided die in your head.
Did it.
And
it's not a metaphor. I'm actually doing it.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't assigned the values yet.
Okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, what do you pick?
2. What did I roll? I rolled a 2, Patrick.
Okay. Let's talk briefly about IDW.
Okay.
Idea Design Works, comical book publishing company.
I've heard of them.
So they are, I can't think of the clinical or I guess the better business term, like the term that encapsulates their profit and loss totals at this juncture of the, that's what it is. They had their investor.
That is a financial term.
Yeah.
You hear that a lot. Like, we're fucked, or our financials are fucked.
They had their investor call recently.
Was it with their one investor? That's so mean.
So the biggest problem.
I'm sorry to anyone whose job depends on IDW doing well. I'm so sorry.
The biggest problems is they don't have the tent poles they had recently, like
Winona Earp. I can't believe that. No. I was just gonna say, like, it's always weird to me that, like, for years Winona Earp was brought up as like this is saving our print business, and it's like, I didn't even know that show was a thing.
So Winona Earp and Lock and Key are mentioned as things that still exist and still are revenue streams and still could.
Yeah, I guess they're on a platform.
Yeah. But they don't have any publishing tentpoles this year. Like in the past, they had Turtles 150, which was huge for them, as well as the Last Ronin, the first Last Ronin.
Like the second series of Last Ronin wrapped up, and that
Is it over?
I think it's done. Revolution.
Yeah,
I think it's done.
Huh.
But they had Jason Aaron's Turtles. So I thought.
Yeah, but it's not. I guess
I thought it did like 100,000 copies. I thought it did really well.
I don't know what to tell you.
We didn't do the pizza party, but we were thinking about it.
We were thinking about it, but so they're kind of on the hook for $745,000 that
they're underwater.
Diamond owes PRH. Remember, some of the smaller publishers had it factored in their contract that if Diamond doesn't pay for the sub-distribution, the publisher owes it.
Yes.
So PRH is looking to get $745,000 out of IDW, who does not have that money. So IDW is, quote, exploring other distribution options.
Wow.
They may be leaving Penguin Random House. They may have no choice.
Here's a quick parenthetical, because you brought up Diamond and PRH and sub-distribution.
Sure.
I'm doing FOCs today, and I do Lunar, and then I do Diamond, and then I do Penguin Random House. And Diamond is like 6 minutes now, if that. And that includes the time it takes me to eat a candy bar.
Hold on.
It was a Hershey's bar.
Thank you.
A little fun size.
Little mini guy. Okay.
Little mini guy.
Those are delicious.
They really are.
Those are just the right size.
I love them. I think a Hershey's chocolate bar is one of those unheralded gems.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people look at their candy bars and want them to be more complex and more,
diversified.
Yeah, or something. Like they want, a variety of flavors and they want it modern and they want it's got to have Wi-Fi. But just your basic Hershey's bar, man, I don't think you need to improve on it. I think it's still delicious. Anyway.
And we were very lucky that someone, I don't know who, some unnamed person, refilled the blue candy box with them.
Someone's going to have to do that again this week.
Yeah.
It got defilled very fast.
Someone found out they were there and had 2 to 3 a day for each day over the weekend.
Somebody got defilled. Anyway, so I'm doing the Diamond stuff. And first of all, no Dynamite this week. Second of all, they have a drop-down menu and you can see kind of everything that they've got. You can sort it by publisher. Now, when I'm doing it through Managed Comics filters out all the publishers that we don't order from Diamond. So it'll just show me the stuff that is what we order from Diamond. So I kind of looked at it and then I went back to the Diamond site. It's like, wait, what is this? I looked at the drop-down and there were drop-downs for Dark Horse PRH, IDW PRH, Marvel PRH. And I thought, hold on a second. So I go back to an email from 7 days ago, which is a standard like PRH weekly email, bunch of stuff, promo sales and new books that are coming out, and things are on FOC. And there was the buy now boilerplate standard section that says, as of June 25th, May 25th. I'm gonna get this out because I want to read it out because I want to make sure I do not get it wrong. Because
that would be a very first.
Yeah, right. For me to be incorrect on something?
I just meant this podcast where we're really good with generalizations and mispronunciations and, I thought it was this.
Misstating something. Yeah. Okay, this is from June 13th. This is just from this past Friday. Going forward, all Penguin Random House sales into the U.S. direct market will be handled by our in-house sales team. We have announced the following transition plan for U.S. direct market retailers serviced by Diamond Comics. Please be advised that this is in red. Please be advised that all orders placed through Diamond Comic distributors for Penguin Random House product releasing July 1st or later have been canceled. To receive product that has already passed the FOC deadline, reorders will need to be placed through Penguin Random House. And then as a thing under that, and this is black bold, please note this includes initial orders placed through Diamond product distributors for the May 25 previous catalog for PRH product. As a reminder, Diamond's last FOC for all Penguin Random House product to U.S. retailers was May 26th. Product FOCing after June 2nd, this is black bold again, will only be available for order at Penguin Random House. This email was sent on June 13th. I was ordering stuff on June 16th. And Diamond was soliciting orders for Marvel, IDW, and Dark Horse product. And I thought, there is no way that product is going to fill. Penguin Random House has spent months notifying retailers as often as they can that you cannot get that stuff anymore through Diamond. You have to get it through Penguin Random House. So I do not understand for the life of me how New Diamond, as Heidi calls them,
which I appreciate. I like great. I like good shorthand. Diamond.
Could possibly be soliciting for this product. Like, where are they getting it from? There's no way, right?
Well, I may have an answer to that as we segue into the next item on my list, and I'm just going to jump from...
Are they asking a store to order it from PRH and then sell it to them? Is that how they're sub-distributing?
So another publisher has left Diamond, Zenescope.
Yeah, it turns out Zenescope was owed a lot of money from Diamond, and of course, New Diamond is not answering any emails when publishers are like, hi, when are we going to get paid for the product we've been giving you or that you already have in your warehouse? Which seems like such a consistent thing now that I cannot wait for someone at New Diamond to quit that company and then go, here's what was going on. Because it seems like retailers are paying Diamond a bunch of money for books that they're getting, and then New Diamond is just collecting that money and not providing it on to the publishers they got the product from.
What came out in that same article about Zenescope leaving, and the can't remember who it was from Zenescope, but basically they had been trying again and again and again to get a hold of New Diamond because they're owed, and they're not even talking about the
bankruptcy money.
Pre-bankruptcy money. This is just the money of product that shipped since May.
Right. Since
that they haven't been paid for.
New Diamond took over legally as the owners, Sparkle Pop, Ad Populum took over as the ones running Diamond, which means, like, basically when the bankruptcy closed, any money that was owed prior to the ownership change is not Sparkle Pop, Ad Populum's responsibility. That is the bankruptcy court and the trustee and all the money that's generated from the sale after bank fees and secured creditors and all the various things that go into a bankruptcy. Then that money is dispersed out to the unsecured creditors. So if you are an unsecured creditor and you were owed money in March and April, that's not the new ownership's responsibility. They are, however, responsible for everything after they got the keys, more or less, for the company.
Sure. And Zenescope has been trying to get a hold of them and has gotten zero reply. And they've even said, like, look, we don't want to make this public, but if you don't respond to us, we're going to have to. They haven't heard anything, so they made it public. And what they've been hearing from people inside of New Diamond, who also worked at Old Diamond,
because they didn't fire everybody, but they fired a bunch of people,
is that most of those people heading up specific divisions of Diamond have not heard anything from Sparkle Pop. They've just been coasting as business as usual.
They've just been showing up each day and
doing
like,
their work.
All right.
Yeah. But like they've not talked to anyone from the new ownership.
What are the people in the accounts payable department doing though?
I don't know.
Because their job, as normal, would be paying out to the different companies that they owe money to, like the different vendors that they're shipping them product.
I assume that Sparkle Pop had to set up all new bank accounts and things.
I guess. I mean, like Sparkle Pop wasn't like 6 people in a garage. Like this was a going concern. They own a bunch of businesses that produce a bunch of things. This is all very, very unusual.
So maybe that accounts for it. Is just like, well, we're just doing we're still doing our part. Who knows?
I guess, but it's one of the most frustrating aspects of the New Diamond stuff is the idea that we're ordering product and we have no idea not only if they're going to fill it, but if they're capable of filling it. Like things that we've been ordering for months, it's like, I don't know if they're paying Hasbro and Hasbro is going to give them more product. I don't know if they're paying Mattel. I don't know if they're paying Viz. I don't know if they're clearly not paying Scholastic. So like, it's frustrating even to see it on an FOC level where it's like, why are you telling your customers that you are going to get them copies of Dark Horse stuff when you cannot get them copies of Dark Horse stuff?
Now, are you sure? You said you were looking at it on the managed comic side, right?
No, I was looking at it on the Diamond.
Oh, on the Diamond side. Okay.
That's what caught my eyes. Like, wait, what? And it's like, you can't get any of this stuff.
And that's why you had the idea last week to print out a report of everything that we've ordered from Diamond and have not gotten.
Yeah.
What were the parameters that you added in? Because you could have gone back to the dawn of time.
Oh, no. I mean, it's not even parameters. There's a specific tool that they have. I'm going to look it up real quick. So any store that's listening to this who wants to know can maybe do the same thing. I got to open up Chrome first, though.
I mean, I personally have a spreadsheet of merchandise that I've ordered.
I never did that for Diamond stuff.
Well, I do that for new to order stuff because anything else is on my managed comics account. So I
just mean I do it for like if I have stuff on pre-order from places that I order from as like a toy fan.
Oh,
but
I see.
Anything I order from Diamond for me, it comes in and I'm like, oh, I guess I ordered this.
Well, I don't do nearly as much ordering as you do.
That's true.
I do have a Ringside Collectibles spreadsheet though.
Yeah.
For wrestling figures.
You have to, because the random sets could be like, wait, do I have a whatever?
Yeah, it's because of how they re-advertise things that make me think that it's new And if they haven't shipped it yet, I'll think, oh, I need to get that. I have double ordered a few figures in the past by accident.
Sure.
But as it stands right now, my goal with AEW action figures from Jazzwares is to have one of every wrestler who has wrestled at that company. Sometimes you get the figure after that person has left. And of all the people that have moved on, I take those figures off the display. But now, as of right now, I have one of everyone.
Nice.
Thanks to an Alex Reynolds from Chris Redcant, but the much sought after and hard to find Brandon Cutler.
I don't even know who Brandon Cutler is.
That I got from Dow.
It's not even that he's necessarily like super hard to find. He was a chase figure, at least released in limited numbers. But it's mostly that the amount he's going for is out of whack with how much he's on TV, which is 0. But then
Alex Reynolds is on TV more.
It's true.
His was the same chase quantity.
But also like Brandon Cutler's importance to AEW's televised product.
Sure.
He was not a huge wrestler that did a lot of stuff. In fact, like the figure that they did of him is not even like my favorite like era of Brandon Cutler.
He's back to the dragon on the indies.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's the first AEW shirt I got was a Brandon Cutler shirt because I was really enjoying the Brandon Cutler storyline on AEW Dark where he was just losing all the time and he finally had his first win. And so he got a t-shirt that says one win can change everything. And I'm like, I want the Brandon Cutler shirt. Sure.
It was when he was feuding with the librarian.
Yeah. A librarian. Anyway, for people who want complete report of everything you've ordered from Diamond that they have not filled, what you're going to do on the Diamond admin side, the Diamond Retailer Services site, is go to reports. And then under reports, you're going to go to emailed reports. And then you're specifically going to go to unfilled orders emailed report. That'll give you a list of everything, initials and reorders that you've ordered from Diamond that they have not filled. It's just a straight up CSV file. You can plug it in any spreadsheet.
Now, do you think that's an automatic thing that generates, or that a human being has to
I got it
program
pretty quickly.
it to do that? But like moving forward,
do
you think
everything's going to break at some point with this company? Yeah.
Yeah.
They have no tech support or whatever. So yeah, I would probably do it sooner rather than later. But yeah, I think it's just an automated report.
But didn't you say you edited down stuff?
No, I mean, I looked at it. I would probably edit down some things, but I was just looking at it in the sense of like,
I looked at it on my phone and it was hard to navigate on your phone because it's not in a spreadsheet. It's just text dump. Yeah.
No, it is formatted it's a CSV file, so you can plug it into Excel or Google Sheets or whatever. Yeah, I found it interesting mostly because I had this idea in my head based on a few companies that we've realized have not shipped out product from Diamond for the calendar year, that we were way back on way more stuff. And it's like, no, not really. And mostly because we barely order anything from Diamond anymore. Like the only major vendors comics wise that we order from Diamond are Viz, Scholastic, First Second. It's kind of it.
Did you edit out stuff that we've already gotten from other venues? Like
I didn't do anything with it yet. I literally just looked at it.
Okay.
I haven't used it to drill down to do anything. Some of it's because I don't like, it's not a ton of stuff, and there's very little.
You thought it was going to be pressing, and it's not. Yeah,
I thought it was going to be like, oh my god, like we have to get on this. We're missing, like, no, not really. I mean, we switched over to Scholastic, and there's probably some things on there where it's like, oh, they missed our initial order when we were ordering stuff from Scholastic, so I want to make sure we get that at a future date. And the other stuff we'll see. It is not the priority right now. There's other priorities that I would rather us address before we start combing through that list and thinking like, oh, we should maybe get this random thing. Because I'll be honest with you, a lot of it, no one's noticed that we don't have it. No one cares. It's fine.
Don't you care though?
A little bit. There's probably some stuff in there where I'm like, oh, I wish we should have that. I would like to have that. But nothing that is, on the level of like
the double,
like image stuff. Like it's not like we weren't getting image and it's like, well, shit, we got to fix that real fast. This is all stuff that's additive to our business, but it's not crucial.
Do you think not having had Cartoonist Club when it came out has dramatically hurt our sales, which have been very slow?
No.
You think people just wouldn't care about that book?
Yep.
Huh.
I mean, judging from the fact that we have children who are coming in every day to Sidekicks and they're not picking it up.
Well, my point is...
No, my point is I don't think they got it like 2 months ago or 3 months ago. These kids don't, like, for a lot of them, their exposure to comics is walking into Sidekicks and seeing comics and buying it. And they are not interested in Cartoonist Club. Yeah, I mean, they'll sell at some point, but yeah, it was not a big deal. I don't think most kids care. I mean,
Do you think it was the Scott McCloud factor dragging Raina down?
Yeah, they have real unfond memories of reinventing comics.
Ugh.
Like, we got the Dogman, the most recent Dogman book. We didn't have that, like, when it was brand new, and we still sold out of it pretty fast. So I think that stuff...
We still don't have the new Investigators.
Which we would probably have to order it from, like, Ingram at this point.
Right, but you keep saying that.
Do you want me to order from Ingram?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, sure.
Next time you do an Ingram order, sure.
Yeah, I mean...
Just like a cursory couple of copies.
Sure. I mean, the problem with doing that and why I've kind of shied away from it is, like, the discount is not good.
I know. The discount sucks. The discount is below the Joe Field rule of being in business.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I can definitely go through that Diamond spreadsheet this weekend and look for, like... I'll start molding it down into something where it's like, maybe we should look at getting these. Some of it's stuff that we can order from other places that we can just put on pre-order or put on reorder. Some of it we're just going to have to figure out, like, maybe we just don't get this.
Yeah. Yeah.
The largest selection of stuff on that report from Diamond of things that they haven't shipped us out yet is merchandise. Comics,
for sure.
Not a lot. Some stuff. There's a few, like, Ablaze comics where I'm like, wow, that was from 3 years ago. I guess they never canceled it? All right. But yeah, I mean, like, toys, t-shirts, and mugs and whatever else, like, that stuff, it is always been the case with Diamond where they will, like, this is what kind of kills me is Diamond's policy for the longest time was they would list this stuff, and then basically if they didn't get enough pre-orders to do a purchase order to get that stuff, they just wouldn't do the purchase order, and you would never know about it. Years would go by, and you'd be like, I know this came out.
Yeah.
I ordered it when it was in new to order, way before any deadlines. Why haven't I gotten it? And I would sometimes have, like, conversations with people at Diamond where they're like, we'll look into it. And I would get emails back where they're like, we honestly don't understand what happened. We don't know what's going on. We never got it. I have emails into other departments, and it was like nothing would ever get resolved. You'd never get a firm answer of, like, why didn't this happen? Other than the vague, this is sometimes what happens policy. So yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of things that I've ordered for myself that just didn't come in. And it reached the point where if I would see stuff that I wanted and I wanted it bad enough, I would not order it from Diamond, even though I could get it at a lower price, because I didn't trust Diamond to fill the order.
Sure.
And this is like pre-pandemic. I don't even mean like since things have been shifting around the last 5 years. I mean, during like the golden age of Diamond.
I have read today that Simon & Schuster is going to be raising their prices by about 20%.
Oh, for like their own books or? Okay. We did get an email from Brandy Bishop, who's the like comics facing person at Simon & Schuster. She used to be a rep and she's great. But it was just an automated thing saying like, hey, a few books have changed prices, but it's all stuff that you already have been familiar with. Like,
okay.
A new Viz printing went up by $2 from $9.99 to $11.99, which is standard. Monstrous Volume 1 changed from $9.99 to $16.99 for the new printing.
Oh, wow. The standard image book, I guess the introductory price is over.
They're tired of being a loss leader, yeah.
That's weird that we get an email like that. First of all, I don't remember seeing that. Second of all, we have to find out Viz price changes all the time on our own.
Mm-hmm. Maybe this is going to be going forward.
One of the smartest things we ever did was implement an extra task where we have to check the barcode of every reader book that comes in because they just change on us.
Yeah, it's a weird thing that I think the comics industry, we usually don't expect it unless it's a brand new printing. But these, technically, they're new printing, but it just comes out of nowhere. They're just like, oh, this is like $3 more. Like, we would have expected a format change or something else, but nope. For a lot of publishers, they just raise the price.
Sometimes they raise it just by $1.
Sometimes.
It's like I'm used to.
There's a lot of kids' books that just go up by $1.
Viz books, sure.
Why bother?
The little golden books, when you're $5 and you go to $6, that's a big deal.
Sure, but when you're like $11.99, you go to $12.99. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
you can't wait until you're $13.99.
Usually, like Viz will go from $9.99 to $11.99. At least it's a $2 jump.
Sure,
something worthwhile.
And all the new Viz stuff is $11.99. This is just as stock sells out and they have to go back to press, they're raising the prices. There
is always that weird discrepancy period where we reorder some little golden books and they come in at the new price, but we still have 1 or 2 copies of the old price. It's like, oh no, what do we do? We don't want to lose all the sales data,
Right.
but you have to have a separate line item. And with Shopify, you can never raise a price. You can only lower a price as you're ringing somebody up.
Yes, true. I thought you meant like on the back end. I'm like, no, you could raise the price.
Oh, for sure. Better be able to. We have to all the time.
We do.
All the time.
It's true.
Did you read anything?
I did. I read, sadly, a bunch of stuff at FOC today, so by the time I'm talking about it, it's too late to order it. I read the Superman Treasury thing. I can't remember what it was called. It's
the Superman Treasury 2025.
No, it has like a subtitle. There's like a...
It didn't in the solicits. Superman Treasury Edition 2025
It's like Superman
by Dan
for
Jurgens
All,
and
I
Bruno
think.
Redondo.
Something like that. But anyway, it's Dan Jurgens, Bruno Redondo. Dan Jurgens also draws a section of it, which I was not a huge fan of.
Oh, that is...
But it's 80 to 90% of it is drawn by Bruno Redondo, and it is gorgeous. It's so good looking. And I read this digitally on my screen, which is nowhere near as cool as reading it in print, if only retailers thought that way. So I'm excited to see it when it's out in print in, I don't know, a month or something. I also read A New History of the DC Universe #1 by Mark Waid and Todd Nauck, and I think Jerry Ordway? Ordster. It is a comprehensive history of the DC Universe across 4 issues from literally the dawn of time up through, I think, the modern day, maybe even into the future. But issue 1 is from the creation of the multiverse up through Krypton being destroyed. So you get a lot of like the kind of prehistory and the cosmic stuff.
I wouldn't even be able to verbalize the important events of the DC universe that were happening in that time frame aside from Krypton.
I mean, a lot of this stuff is thousands and millions of years earlier. So yeah, I don't want to spoil what's in it, but it is incredibly comprehensive in that it's not just like the kind of historical stuff, but Mark Waid's also folded in any retcon stuff that's happened in the last like 40 years since the last history of the DC universe. So stuff from like the Jeff Johns Golden Age stuff. That's anything that the Jeff Johns add to that is now part of the DC history. I thought it was solid. It's just like the Marv Wolfman, George Perez history of the DC universe, because there's little caption boxes where someone is writing a history of the DC universe alongside full page pieces of artwork. It's going to be different artists each issue. I don't think it's Todd Nauck for all 4.
No, it's not.
But it's solid. And if you're somebody who wants to kind of see, at least in a snapshot of 2025, what the history of the DC universe is now, I think it's worth checking out. And then I read...
Didn't we just do that for Marvel as well?
He did, but that was a different one because I think it was meant to be more like, we have to put all of this in the kind of real world historical context. So like, we can't just say like, they fought in Korea. Like, there has to be like a fake country because the Korea, Vietnam, et cetera stuff all has to happen at the same time because of how this all works. As opposed to like the JSA existed in World War II.
Yeah.
Like there's a page in this where they're shaking hands with FDR. Like they didn't move that up until like the 1990s to make it all fit in the timeline.
Why didn't they ever team up with Captain America?
Well, you'll have to read the New History of the DC Universe to find out. And then I read the new Gotham City Sirens weekly miniseries issue 1. It's great. Leigh Williams is great. Haining is the artist. It's great. The cast is, once again, Harley Quinn, Catwoman, and Poison Ivy.
What, something about Orbit? Not fit for orbit?
Unfit for orbit, not fit for orbit, something like that. They're going to go on a space adventure this time, it looks like. But for issue 1, they are still in Gotham City. And I liked it. I hate that it's a weekly miniseries. It makes me not want to order a lot because our window to sell it is so narrow. But I think it's good. I think it's a fun comic. I wish it were a monthly miniseries.
Today I read Exquisite Corpses 3.
Yeah? You're going to stay ahead on that the whole time?
If they're sending us previews, I'll read it.
Okay.
This one is written by Pornsack Picciotto and drawn by Andrew DeVito.
I read issue 2 a day or so ago, and I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I hope people stick with it.
I like 3 a little better than 2, but I mean, it's still feeding the same story.
Right.
The one thing I don't like is that the advanced reader platform they give it to us, it's 2 pages at a time, and I can't blow it up.
Oh, that sucks.
So I got to keep leaning into the screen.
I would never read that way.
And then I read something right after it, that was, I got to blow up. It was a normal scroll. For the life of me, I cannot remember what it was.
Uh-oh.
It was a new book I just read this afternoon. I also read a bunch of this week's books, so things are merging in my head.
Sure.
But what was the new book? Who was it from? It wasn't DC. It was... no idea. Clearly it stuck with me. Also, I have a book full of notes right here.
Yeah?
Didn't write it down.
Didn't write it down.
Also, this episode, 742, it's the last entry in this book.
Whoa.
This is the second
Closing the book on it.
completely filled notebook I have for Contest of Challengers episodes.
Wow.
The last one was a smaller little old school fake exam book kind of thing that I got from seeing a preview of Old School way back in the day.
Sure.
Me and Matt Streets went and saw it during a work day. And you got me these two fun books. This one is List of Reasons Why I Hate My Job. And then the next volume, which I've already started on because it has the next episode's notes in it, because I knew that they'd be out of order, is Reasons Why I'm Always Right.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, look, this book.
Look at that, all filled.
Started at 600 and...
Why didn't it start at 616?
613. Sorry. What did we do anything fun for 616? Let's take a look.
Good thing you kept notes. Can you read them?
Slow Christmas. It Took Luke. PRH. There Is No News. Variant Box. Oh, wow. That's when we decided to do a box full of variant issues.
Oh, interesting.
The one box.
So a drawing of where wheels are probably going to go on the bottom of the rack.
Off Floor Overstock. Manga Hot and Cold. Okay, I need my glasses for the rest of this. I took my glasses off.
Do you even know what days, like when this would have been on the calendar? Like what?
I could go backwards.
616?
Homogeneously diverse? No. The Hammock Gets Deeper. That must have been what I used for
2 years ago, maybe?
I mean, look, I can look it up. I've started dating them.
I mean, if it's 742 and we do like one a week. Yeah, probably a little over 2 years ago.
But yeah, this is definitely how I plan to put wheels on the bottom.
I've seen it. I've seen the bottom of the racks.
Well, no, these are the bottom of the blue bookshelves because this was a separate piece that had to go under them because you couldn't drill into the metal on those.
Right.
And then this is to show you where it would fit in a regular bookcase. Also, I was never happy with those, and those you only have the drama ones are blue, and those move okay, but I still hate them. I've never done the wheels right for those. So no, nothing about it being episode 616.
All right. What about episode 619?
Booyaka, booyaka. Why is episode 620 called Pig Boob?
Patrick.
I think we used it. I think we actually did do that.
That's weird.
Talk about an exercise bike? Weird.
That's weird.
Oh, yeah, okay. So 619 was the first week of January of that year.
Okay.
So it had to be...
Probably 2023.
Okay, well, enough about that. And enough about this. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.